Hello you, I'm Jordan. Welcome back to the Filmmakers That Inspire Us. Now, if you remember from the last two episodes on Jim Henson and Radio Silence, this is the show where we look at the life, career and legacy of some of our favourite filmmakers. In today's episode, we take a journey looking at the legendary cinematographer that is Roger Deakins. Starting from when he was a stills photographer and tracking his journey as he became the most legendary cinematographer that Hollywood has ever put to frame.
Chapter 1. The Path to the Camera.
Roger Deakins was born in Torquay in Devon, in England, before he became widely regarded as one of the most influential cinematographers of his generation. His path into filmmaking actually started in art college instead. During this time, he developed a strong understanding of composition, light, and visual structure that would later underpin his work as a cinematographer. After leaving college, Deakins spent a year working as a stills photographer. This period was significant in shaping his observational approach. Working alone and without the infrastructure of a film crew, he focused on capturing real moments as they happened. The first camera Roger ever used was a Praktica Film SLR, which supported him to capture his stills. He later went on to study at the National Film School, where he began working with motion picture cameras. It was here that his interest in visual storytelling began to expand beyond the single frame. Following his time at film school, Deakins moved into documentary filmmaking. He worked on a variety of projects, sometimes as a director and other times as an assignment cameraman. Regardless of the role, he saw this period as his film career, despite not working in film at the time. Among his earlier work was Around the World with Ridgway, which released in 1978 and was filmed on an Eclair NPR 16mm. A 9-month sailing journey that required him to film constantly changing and often challenging conditions. The documentary was about a British sailor called John Ridgway and about his participation in the 1970 to 1978 Whitbread Round the World race, documenting the intense claustrophobic atmosphere, personal tensions and challenges faced by the crew during the global race. He also filmed in Zimbabwe, documenting life and conflict in an active war zone. This was followed by work in Etri called Etri Behind the Enemy Lines, where filming took place in dangerous and difficult situations. These projects were not controlled or staged. They required patience, awareness, and the ability to respond quickly to real events as they unfolded. Through this work, Deakins developed a deeper understanding of how light behaves in a natural setting and how to capture authenticity on camera. Alongside his documentary work, Deakins also gained experience shooting music videos, working alongside with major artists including Eric Clapton, Meat Loaf and Marvin Gaye. These projects offered a different kind of creative challenge, combining performance with visual style, while still requiring adaptability behind the camera. Although more structured than documentary work, music videos demanded a strong sense of rhythm, timing and visual composition. For Deakins, they provided an opportunity to experiment within tighter production frameworks while continuing to refine his approach to lighting and image making. Then, Roger Deakins got his big breakthrough he was waiting for, the chance to film a feature film. That opportunity came through a connection he had made during his time at film school. He was given the opportunity to shoot a low-budget feature for Channel 4 in the United Kingdom, working with director Michael Radford. The film, Another Time, Another Place in 1983, marks his first step into the narrative cinema after years of documentary work. Roger Deakins employed a distinctive bleach bypass process, also known as silver retention, to achieve the film's stark desaturated look. The technique involved skipping part of the film-making process, allowing silver to remain in print and creating a harsher, more constrained, heavy image. At the time, this approach was largely unfamiliar in the Western cinema, giving the film a uniquely bleak and despite its modest production, Another Time, Another Place proved to be a significant breakthrough. The film was not only released theatrically, but also achieved considerable success, going on to be screened at the Cannes Film Festival. For Deakins, it represented a turning point, demonstrating that his observational style could translate effectively into scripted storytelling. Following the success, he continued to collaborate with Radford, shooting 2 further films in quick succession, 1984 and White Mischief in 1988. These projects helped establish his reputation within the industry, marking the beginning of a sustained career in the feature filmmaking and setting the stage for his later work in international cinema.
Chapter 2: The Emergence of His Style.
By the late 1980s, Roger Deakins had begun to establish himself within the British film industry. Following his early collaborations with Michael Radford, his work increasingly attracted attention for its naturalistic, minimalistic cinematography style that prioritised storytelling through simple, motivated lighting and precise composition. What distinguished Deakins from many of his competitors was the influence of his documentary-style background. Rather than relying on elaborate lighting setups or stylized imagery, he favoured a more naturalistic approach. Light was used sparingly and purposefully, often motivated by real sources within the scene. The result was a visual style that felt grounded and authentic, yet carefully controlled. As his reputation grew, so too did the scale and range of his work, bringing his understated approach to a variety of genres. Among the most significant of these partnerships was his work with Joel Cohen and Ethan Cohen. Their first collaboration, Barton Fink, marked the beginning of a long, influential working relationship. The film's visual design, shaped in close collaboration with Deakins, controlled lighting and carefully composed frames to reflect the psychological tension of the story. Barton Fink was filmed primarily in Los Angeles, California, with key scenes shot at locations including the Ambassador Hotel, the Park Plaza Hotel, and the RMS Queen Mary. The production made use of the 35mm film, allowing for a rich, textured image that complemented the film's period setting and atmospheric tone. The film went on to win multiple awards, including National Society of Film Critics Award for Best Cinematography. This was followed by Fargo, where Deakins took a mildly different approach. The film's stark, snow-covered landscapes were rendered with a simplicity that emphasized isolation and quiet unease. In The Big Lebowski, Deakins again demonstrated his versatility. Shot on a 35mm film using an Arriflex and an Arriflex 35, he employed Zeiss standard and super speed lenses to achieve the film's crisp, dynamic look. The film was shot primarily in Los Angeles, California, within key locations including Venice, Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and Pasadena. The cinematography balanced grounded realism with stylized sequences, helping support the Coen brothers' offbeat tone. In 1994, Deakins collaborated with Frank Darabont on The Shawshank Redemption, a film that would become one of his most iconic pieces of work. The film was also shot on 35mm film, using Arriflex cameras, primarily in and around Mansfield, Ohio. The main location was the decommissioned Ohio State Reformatory, which served as the Shawshank State Prison. Deakins' cinematography captured both that oppressive atmosphere of the prison and the emotional depth of the story. The Shawshank Redemption went on to receive critical acclaim and multiple award nominations. It became a favourite with audiences worldwide, earning recognition from the American Society of Cinematographers and other industry bodies. The film's enduring impact solidified Deakins' reputation as a master of visual storytelling, capable of enhancing narrative and emotion through the precise use of lighting and composition. Across these films, a distinct visual voice began to emerge. Deakins' cinematography was not designed to draw attention to itself, but to serve the story. His images were carefully constructed, yet never artificial. By the early 1990s, he was no longer a simple cinematographer with a documentary experience. He had become a creative collaborator, working closely with directors to shape their visual identities of their films. For Deakins, this period marked a shift. He was no longer adapting his documentary instincts to narrative filmmaking, he was defining a style that would influence both. It was a progression that would lead him beyond British cinema and into a broader international career where his approach to light and image making would even reach a wider audience.
Chapter 3. Working with the Visionaries.
By the turn of the millennium, Roger Deakins had firmly established himself as one of the leading visual storytellers in contemporary cinema. His collaborations with the Coen brothers continued to define his work. Beginning with Oh Brother Where Art Thou in 2000, the film was shot on 35mm film using Arriflex 535B cameras, and it became one of the first feature films to employ a 2K digital intermediate, aka DI, to achieve its now iconic golden colour palette. The production was filmed primarily in central Mississippi, with key locations including Jackson and Yazoo City. Deakins' use of the digital colour correction transformed the landscape and period into a visual, immersive experience, creating a warm, timeless aesthetic that perfectly complemented the film's folk-infused narrative. Deakins maintained a strong relationship with the Coen brothers for a series of films in the early 2000s. The Man Who Wasn't There showcased his mastery of black and white cinematography, blending stark contrasts with subtle textures to heighten the film's noir atmosphere. Intolerable Cruelty in 2003 and The Lady Killers in 2004, each project demonstrating his adaptability across genres, including romantic comedy to dark comedy. During this period, Deakins also worked with other acclaimed directors, expanding his international presence. In A Beautiful Mind 2001, to House of Sand and Fog in 2003, and of course The Village. This highlighted his adaptability to craft mood and tension through careful use of light, shadow and colour. In 2005, he went to work on Jarhead. He translated the stark realities of desert warfare into strikingly composed frames, balancing naturalism with cinematic impact. In Jarhead, Deakins employed Arri-Cam Light and Arriflex 35 cameras, shooting primarily across locations like Arizona, California, and New Mexico. His cinematography rendered the desert landscape with stark, minimalistic beauty. Jarhead primarily earned recognition for technical achievements and acting, notably winning the San Diego Film Critics Society Special Award for Jake Gyllenhaal's body of work, and the Hollywood Film Awards for director Sam Mendes. It also received numerous nominations for cinematography and screenplay. Throughout these years, his ongoing collaboration with the Coen brothers remained central to his artistic identity. Whether exploring period settings, psychological tension, or stylized humour, Deakins brought a consistent clarity, restraint, and emotional depth to every frame. His skill at adapting to different directors' visions while maintaining a recognisable visual voice became a defining feature of his career. By the mid-2000s, Roger Deakins had evolved from a masterful British cinematographer into a globally celebrated figure. The period marked a culmination of years of careful craft, experimentation, and artistic growth, setting the stage for the ambitious large-scale projects that would follow.
Chapter 4. The Evolution of his Visual Crafting Style.
In No Country for Old Men in 2007, Deakins reunited with Joel Coen and Ethan Coen to craft a tense, morally complex thriller. Using Panavision Panaflex cameras and lenses, the cinematography relied on natural light, carefully composed frames to heighten the story's tension. Filmed primarily across Texas, including Martha, Sanderson, and the surrounding desert landscapes, Deakins' restrained approach accentuated the stark, unforgiving environment that amplified the suspense, creating a visual atmosphere that mirrored the film's ethical ambiguity and the relentless sense of threat, focusing on wide-angle shots to emphasize the desolate, harsh beauty of the West Texas landscape. The visual style is defined by natural lighting, a deep depth of field, and a muted, earthy colour palette, often relying on suspenseful still shots rather than rapid camera movement. The film would go on to win lots of awards, including a BAFTA for Best Cinematography and multiple Academy Awards. After the success of No Country for Old Men, Roger went on to work on Revolutionary Road, directed by Sam Mendes, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. Deakins turned his attention to an intimate domestic drama. This film was shot on 35mm using Arriflex 435 and Panavision lenses, primarily on location in Darien, as well as studio sets designed to evoke 1950s suburban life. By the time Deakins took on Skyfall, he was already internationally acclaimed, yet this James Bond film presented a unique challenge to bring his franchise. Shot primarily on Arri Alexa digital cameras paired with Cookie S4 lenses, Deakins embraced digital technology to achieve both clarity and flexibility, allowing him to capture the grandeur of sprawling locations as well as subtle character moments. The production spanned multiple continents, with key sequences filmed in London, Shanghai and the Scottish Highlands. The Shanghai sequence demanded a more stylised approach, blending neon reflections and complex tracking shots while maintaining realism in the environment. The Scottish Highlands offered some of the film's most memorable imagery, including the climactic confrontation at Bond's ancestral home. Here, Deakins combined natural light with a carefully placed artificial sources to highlight the rugged landscape and dramatic weather. His precise framing and use of deep focus allowed the environment to feel both vast and intimately connected to the characters. Throughout Skyfall, Deakins' cinematography served as a bridge between blockbuster spectacle and nuanced storytelling. Even in large-scale action sequences, every shot was composed to guide the viewer's focus and reinforce character emotion. His mastery of light and shadow, combined with camera movement and the possibilities afforded by digital capture, resulted in a visual style that was once again cinematic. These sequences collectively demonstrated Deakins' ability to adapt his artistry to a global cinematic canvas. By balancing a technical innovation and careful composition, he elevated Skyfall beyond typical franchise visuals, creating images that were celebrated by both critics and audiences alike. In this period, Roger Deakins was not just a master of cinematography, he was now a contemporary filmmaker. Each project reinforced his reputation as a collaborator who could adapt to any genre or director while maintaining a significant clarity and emotional depth. The work on No Country for Old Men, Revolutionary Road and Skyfall confirmed his place among the most celebrated and most influential cinematographers of all time.
Chapter 5: The Mastery of His Craft.
Prisoners marked a collaboration between Roger Deakins and Denis Villeneuve, exploring the darkness and moral ambiguity of a chilling kidnapping drama. The film was shot on 35mm using Arri cameras and Panavision lenses, allowing Deakins to craft a precise cinematic look with deep shadows and muted tones. His approach emphasised naturalistic lighting, often relying on available light to reinforce the sense of realism. The filming took place primarily in Pennsylvania, including rural areas and suburban homes that embodied the story's oppressive, claustrophobic atmosphere. Deakins used tight framing and careful colour palettes to enhance the film's moral and emotional weight, ensuring the environment felt as psychologically resonant as the characters themselves. Fog, rain and low-light interiors became crucial visual tools throughout the emotional stakes of the narrative. The cinematography received widespread acclaim, earning Deakins nominations from the Academy Awards, the BAFTAs and the American Society of Cinematographers. Critics praised his ability to blend classical composition techniques with a modern, naturalistic sensibility, solidifying Prisoners as one of the most visually compelling thrillers of the decade. Deakins' influence even extended into animation when he began consulting on the How to Train Your Dragon series for DreamWorks Animation. He was invited to help shape the visual language of the film's television and film's adaptations, applying his principles of composition, lighting and colour to the animated medium. By guiding how scenes were lit, framed and structured, Deakins ensured that the animation maintained a cinematic quality reminiscent of a live-action storytelling. Although not operating cameras in the traditional sense, emphasised the same core principles: lighting as a narrative tool, careful attention to perspective and depth. He worked closely with animation directors and layout artists, providing input on everything from the design of the skies, landscapes, to the visual rhythm of action sequences. His contribution helped How to Train Your Dragon maintain a consistency of cinematic style across multiple projects, blending sweeping epic sequences with intimate, character-driven moments. In Blade Runner 2049, Deakins collaborated again with Villeneuve on a visually ambitious science fiction epic. The film was shot digitally using Arri Alexa 65 cameras with large format lenses, allowing for extraordinary image resolution and a sweeping sense of scale. Filming occurred across multiple international locations, including Budapest, Spain and California. The film earned Deakins the Academy Award for Best Cinematography, along with multiple other accolades from the BAFTAs and American Screen Cinematographers and critics' circles. Blade Runner 2049 was widely recognised as a landmark in digital cinematography, demonstrating how traditional cinematic principles could be adapted into cutting-edge technology for the 21st century.
Chapter 6: A Life in the Limelight.
1917, directed by Sam Mendes, was an extraordinary technical achievement, designed to appear as a single continuous shot. Deakins used a Arri Alexa Mini LF, paired with large format lenses to achieve an unprecedented depth and clarity while maintaining mobility for complex tracking shots across trenches, fields and interiors. The cameras allowed for incredible flexibility, capturing both sweeping landscapes and the intimate character moments without sacrificing detail or naturalism. Filming took place primarily in England and Scotland, with locations including St Nazari, like trenches built on Salisbury's plain, sprawling countryside, and carefully designed interior shots. The film's visual style was both technical and emotional. His meticulous planning of camera movement, lens choice and lighting ensured that each sequence flowed seamlessly, creating an immersive experience that placed the viewer directly in the narrative. Deakins used long takes, tracking shots and controlled depth of field to build tension and convey the relentless progression of the soldier's journey. Shadows, smoke and the changing light of natural light could shape narrative rhythm as effectively as the script of all performances. The work earned him the Academy Award for Best Cinematography, reinforcing his reputation as a master of both precision and innovation. However, the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and during COVID-19 in 2020, Roger Deakins and his wife, James Ellis Deakins, launched a podcast called Team Deakins, dedicated to cinematography and filmmaking. The series offered a rare window into the craft with Deakins, discussing technical approaches, creative decisions and personal anecdotes from decades of work. It became an invaluable resource for aspiring filmmakers, cinephiles and students, blending practical advice with reflections of the art of storytelling through images. The podcast also highlighted the collaborative nature of Deakins' work. James contributed her insights as a long-time collaborator, helping guide discussions, providing context from both technical and production perspectives. Through this platform, Deakins not only shared his expertise but also fostered a sense of community among filmmakers worldwide. Then in 2022, Roger returned for another feature after a long break after COVID, with Empire of Light. The cinematography emphasised subtle textures, shadows and colour shifts to mirror the emotional story arcs of the story. By integrating precise lighting design with composition, Deakins transformed ordinary cinematic spaces into evocative living environments. Reflecting on his career, Deakins has often emphasised the importance of tools he loves. For me, the camera is an extension of the eye. The ARRI cameras, especially the Alexa Mini LF, allow me to see and capture the world exactly as I want to feel it. His dedication to both craft and innovation continues to inspire new generations of filmmakers. As technology evolves and new storytelling challenges emerge, Deakins remains committed to pushing boundaries, exploring new visual languages, and mentoring others through projects like his podcast.
Thank you very much for watching this episode of the Filmmakers That Inspire Us. From both me and Ed, we hope that you learned a lot about Roger Deakins as a person and cinematography as an art form. Next episode, we're going intergalactic and boarding a Star Destroyer to look at another legendary filmmaker. Join us then.
Real thrills.